The lobby's bright at noon. Your planner is blank. Somehow that feels unsafe. You came here with a free day, but the empty boxes look back at you. Nothing is overdue. Nobody is waiting. Still, your hand stays on the cover, like the day has asked a question you did not prepare for. On the grass, the folded picnic tarp looks simple. You could open it. You could sit down. You could do nothing for an hour. But the folded edge stays under your palm, and the pause turns heavy. A free afternoon should feel light. Instead, it feels like being seen without a useful excuse. At the empty tennis court, a rental racket waits beside the fence. It is not locked away. It is not complicated. You notice the oval frame leaning in the sun, and the strange part is how available it is. When nobody books the lesson, tells you the drill, or starts the first rally, choice feels less like freedom and more like pressure. A daytime movie ticket sits in your fingers while the corridor stays almost empty. This should be easy. Buy a seat, watch the film, leave lighter. But the torn corner makes the choice feel like escape. You are not afraid of the movie. You are afraid that relaxing might look like wasting proof. A sealed puzzle box rests near one chess piece on the park table. Both are games, but both suddenly feel like assignments. This is the proof gap. It appears when the schedule disappears, and you start wondering what will count as enough. Even play becomes suspicious when it cannot prove progress by the end. The hobby workshop door is closed, and the reservation confirmation is still folded in your bag. You wanted this class when you were busy. It looked peaceful from a crowded week. But now there's time, and wanting becomes responsibility. The small paper feels heavier because nobody can want it for you. In the adult education classroom, an empty course form waits on a desk. You wanted to learn something for yourself. You said that many times. You notice the blank signature line as your pen slows down. The fear is not the class. The fear is that starting makes the choice yours, and quitting would also be yours. At the indoor climbing desk, a harness sits open on the counter. The straps are ready. The wall is right there. Your hand moves toward the buckle, then stops. But here's the strange part. The body can freeze even when the door is open. Being allowed is not the same as being guided. From the pool seating area, a locker token rests in your palm. You could go in. You could leave. The water is visible beyond the rail, but your day stays in between. This is what empty time often creates. Not rest, not action. A waiting state where every next step feels self-chosen and exposed. On the neighborhood field sideline, the running shoe box is still sealed beside an unused day pass. You know movement might help. You know the first lap would be simple, yet the cardboard lid stays flat. When effort has no appointment attached to it, it can feel less like care and more like a public promise to change. At the Botanical Garden map stand, the route card offers many paths. None are wrong. That is the problem. You notice the colored path lines gathering under your thumb, and more options do not make the day easier. They make the day louder. When every path is possible, choosing one can feel like closing all the others. At the weekend volunteer booth, a blank clipboard waits beside a neat stack of forms. Resting would be allowed, but being useful feels safer. You can almost feel the relief of writing your name, not because the task is joyful, because it would explain the day. It would turn empty hours into evidence. Back at the closed workshop window, unused watercolor brushes sit in a clear case. You do not hate the hobby. You hate the quiet test around it. If you paint badly, the free time feels wasted. If you do not open the case, the free time feels wasted too. At the chess table, the single piece has not moved. The sealed puzzle is gone now, but the same pressure remains. And this is where it changes. The problem is not having nothing to do. The problem is that every harmless option starts asking what kind of person you're becoming. On the tennis court, the racket is now near the baseline. The court gives you space, not instruction. That difference matters. A packed day tells you where to stand. An empty day asks you to decide. When your identity has been carried by deadlines, silence can feel like the floor dropping out. The locker token now sits on the pool bench beside a folded towel. The choice is still small: enter or leave, swim or wait, but the feeling underneath is bigger. The proof gap returns when a simple choice starts carrying your whole opinion of yourself. That is too much weight for a token. At the garden stand, the route card covers part of the map. One path would be enough, but enough is hard to feel when no one assigned it. A blank day can make every ordinary choice feel final. Walk here, sit there, turn back. Each option begins to sound like a verdict. On the field sideline, the gym day pass is tucked under the shoebox. This is not laziness. Laziness would feel easier. This feels like effort without a container. A task from work has a place to go. A run on a blank day has to become its own reason. At the cinema corridor, the ticket piece waits near the entrance doors. The film has a start time, but your permission to enjoy it still feels uncertain. The harder part comes later. Even when rest has a schedule, you may still search for a reason that makes it respectable. In the adult classroom, a registration card lies beside a closed folder. You can learn here. You can also leave. The room does not push you. That quiet can feel uncomfortable when pressure used to do the pushing. Some people do not fear free time itself. They fear being the only engine in the room. On the picnic lawn, the tarp is partly open now. One corner lifts in the light, but the rest remains folded. This is the honest middle. You may want rest and still not trust it. You may have space and still look for a task to make the space feel deserved. At the climbing desk, the harness is ready again. This time, the stillness is easier to read. It is not weakness. It is the moment before self-direction. Nobody is pushing the buckle into your hand. Nobody is grading the climb. The empty space is asking what kind of effort can hold itself. At the volunteer booth, the clipboard remains unsigned. That does not make the day useless. It only removes the fastest explanation. You are not suddenly less real because nobody can point to your usefulness. But the fear makes sense. You learned to feel solid when a role was attached. The community center lobby is still bright. The planner is still blank. But now the empty boxes look less like failure and more like unassigned time. A blank day does not prove you are nothing. It shows where outside pressure used to stand. Effort changes life only when it has a storage structure. Without that structure, even freedom can feel scary.